Hey, welcome back to NewZeroland. One of our Energicas just crossed over 10,000 kilometers, so it's time to celebrate.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I bought this cupcake just for this video. But hey, perfect time to shoot a review video. We've been riding these 2022 Energica Ribelles for just over a year now. So what was that like? Well, we've taken these bikes to the racetrack, a hill climb event, we've gone drag racing, we've found out what the top speeds are, legally, and we went on a 3,400 kilometer road trip to see how they do riding long distances, charging multiple times a day. If you're new to my channel, this isn't my first Energica. I mean, right now we own 2.5 Energicas. One belongs to my wife, and the other one I took apart to put in my car. But before this, I owned an Ego for a year, the full-fairing racy one. Then we got to ride some in Italy, and also the Xperia, Energica's touring bike. And we got a tour of the factory. You could say I'm a huge fan of this company. And it's pronounced Energica. Energica, not Energica. Say it right. Don't put pineapple on pizza. By now I've ridden just about every Energica, a bunch of Zeros, a Livewire, a ton of little commuter bikes, even the mythical unicorns, the Lightning Strike and LS218. So I'm going to try my best to stay unbiased with this review. Even though we own 2 of these, if there's a better, more capable electric motorcycle out there, I'll tell you about it. Well, there isn't. These are the best. But what does the best electric motorcycle mean? Here's how I broke down what were most important to me, so you can jump around to whatever chapters you're most interested in. Alright, so you know how Teslas basically out-accelerate anything these days? You just mash the pedal and the car launches perfectly every time. In general, electric motorcycles are also like that. They have all the same characteristics of an EV, like the instant torque that you're used to, no shifting gears. But the performance, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, even compared to my old Energica, these are almost scary to ride. If you've ridden any other electric motorcycle and you think you know what electric motorcycles are like, you don't. You just don't. This is something else. Jen's base Energica Ribelle ran an 11.2 in the quarter mile, and my Ribelle RS ran a 10.7. With proper tire pressure, it'd probably go even faster. So from the factory, with no mods, this is a 10-second bike. And that's fast. It's as fast as these other bikes, which you may have heard of. But those bikes sound cool, right? What about the sound? Don't I miss the engine noise? Nope. Oh, hey, Tunnel. That never gets old. Personally, I'm a little torn because I like how quiet my Zero was, because I could sneak around and not draw too much attention to myself, even though I still got pulled over. But the quiet sound of the Zero was also kind of boring. I agree with gas bikers that sound does play a huge part in how exciting a bike is. So to me, Energicas are exciting, just in a Star Wars TIE Fighter kind of way. When it comes to handling, the first time I took my Ribelle on a windy road was in this hill climb event. Hands down, New Zealand's best racing event. And on paper, it's a heavy bike. It weighs 260 kilos, which is a lot. But at a certain speed, it becomes really nimble. I used to have a Ducati Street Fighter, and it's kind of like that. Handling, body position, all that is pretty much Ducati. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Not only because it's Italian, but because Energica also started out building race bikes. What I'm riding is so similar to what they raced in Moto E. I mean, you probably clicked on this video because you like fast bikes and you're curious about electric, and I'm happy to say that the faster you ride this thing, the better it feels. Some people don't like the suspension, and all I can say is get it adjusted. At least on mine, from the factory, the rear spring was compressed so much that twisting the little rebound knob did nothing. So I had a buddy adjust the preload for me, and this completely transformed the bike. It kind of changed my mind about whether or not the Öhlins upgrade is really necessary. If you do track days a lot, obviously go for Öhlins, but for street stuff, the stock suspension is totally fine if it's adjusted right. Another hot topic online is the brakes. A lot of Energica owners have had issues with them, and I have too. The problem seems to be with the pads. These particular Brembo pads get super dusty, and the dust gets in these buttons that allow the rotors to float. They should move like this. But after a lot of hard braking, the rotors don't move as freely, and you get this shuddery feeling. So the solution seems to be shooting brake cleaner into these buttons every once in a while to get them to loosen up again. Somebody suggested using EBC pads instead of Brembos because they're less dusty. And I don't know, I might try those eventually, but so far it seems to be an easy fix. I've ridden both the RS and the standard Ribelles long distance now, and haven't really noticed a difference in range, so the gearing doesn't seem to have an effect, and neither does the windscreen. They both get around 125 miles on a charge at highway speeds, but if you leave a charging station at 80% and get to the next one at 20%, you might be only riding like 100 miles, but comfortably. Range anxiety is gone. I haven't worried about how much range I have in a long time. Obviously your range goes up if you ride slower, but nobody buys a bike like this to ride slow. The only consideration you have to make when riding long distances is luggage. I love traveling with these saddlebags, but they easily kill like 10% of your range because they stick out so far and affect aerodynamics. So I'm a big fan of tank bags. Since there's no fuel cap, you can just leave it there all the time, and you can use it as a pillow. So I realize 100 to 125 miles of range is still really low compared to gas bikes, but charging it back up doesn't take that long anymore. Another reason why we went with Energicas is because they charge so much faster than anything else. There's still no competition. These charge at 23 kilowatts, which is 10 kilowatts more than the fastest charging Zero. This translates to about a 1 hour charge from 0 to 100, but I found most of my charging stops are around 30 minutes, because I usually plug in before I'm at 0%. And 30 minutes is kind of a weird time because it's not really long enough to stop for lunch at a restaurant, so I end up just eating meat pies all the time. And 30 minutes is too long to hang out at the bike and wait. I know these are already the fastest charging electric motorcycles you can get, but in my opinion, that's still too slow. A 30-minute stop is too long. It might sound like I'm moving the goalposts, but the goal was always to get charging times down to as close as we can to filling up a tank of gas. And we're still not there yet. DC charging is a game changer, and I'd never buy a bike that didn't have it. But a downside to charging this fast is that the batteries heat up, and when they heat up, the charging speed drops. This really only happened a few times on our trip. Like one day I rode over 300 miles, so I had to stop and charge a few times. And I was charging back to back, like I'd ride, charge, and I got the battery in the yellow pretty quick. But that's the kind of stuff I like doing. So I think my one wish with this bike is that the battery was liquid cooled. Imagine if we could charge at 50 kilowatts and only stop for like 15 minutes. Then, I'd really have nothing to say. Our bikes have a few different features, and I wasn't sure what category to put those in, so here we go. Keyless versus key. Mine has a traditional key, and I like that it's simple and it works every time, but sometimes I forget the key in the bike. Maybe because our track bike just has a switch, and I got so used to riding Jen's bike with a key fob. I don't know, maybe I just need to be more careful. But the keyless thing is cool, and I think I like it more. Sometimes you have to press the button twice to turn it on, and sometimes it says the key fob is out of range. But I like having it in my pocket and just not thinking about it. So in my opinion, keyless is cool. Jen's bike also has heated grips, and mine doesn't, and I'm super jealous. It's winter in New Zealand right now, and those are amazing. Super easy to use, they heat up really fast, and I 100% wish I got them on my bike. The windscreen though, personally I'm not really a fan of the style or the function. Sitting upright, the air hits me right in the helmet and it's super loud. When I'm tucking, it works perfectly and it makes riding almost silent, but then everything I'm seeing is through this warped plastic. And it doesn't seem to help the range much, so I definitely prefer my bike without it. So I've been riding electric motorcycles for 7 years now, actually. That's a long time. And the perception of electric motorcycles hasn't been that good. People think these are toys for kids. They're not real motorcycles, whatever that means. One person called it a vibrator, but it's like, joke's on you, man, there is no vibration. That said, they used to be that way. They used to be toys. They didn't have enough power, the range wasn't great, and they charged way too slowly. But something changed with this bike. No one who's ridden this bike has walked away the same. You can see the look on their faces go from skeptical to completely blown away.
Nice. It's just there. The torque, you just touch the throttle, it's like, it's all there.
What are your thoughts?
So many wheelies.
What? You can be the most hardcore petrol head alive and come back a different person.
Like quite literally that was only quarter throttle, if that. And folks, that is just amazing.
You'll be asking where you can get one of these because whatever bike you were riding is now absolute garbage. So after over a year of riding my Energica Ribelle, I can't believe these things exist and that I have one in my garage. Or two and a half. They're just so good. Like, gas bikes are still a lot of fun. We still have track bikes. I'm not some kind of militant environmentalist. You can buy whatever you want. But we've made it to the point where if you buy a gas bike, the reason isn't performance. Not anymore. This is the ultimate. That's really all I can say. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.